Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Quincy School Committee for Wednesday, October 11th. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? With honor, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Christopher.
Please keep in your thoughts the victims and families of the Las Vegas tragedy, as well as please keep in your thoughts the family of Wayne Myrick, who passed away last week. Wayne was a 35-year attendance supervisor with the Quincy Public Schools, who had a larger-than-life wit and smile, laugh, and an incredibly warm heart, and he will be missed. Thank you.
Superintendent, please call the roll.
Mr. Bugoli.
Present.
Mr. Demichis.
Present.
Mrs. Hubley.
Present.
Ms. Isola.
Present.
Mrs. Lebo.
Present.
Mrs. Mahoney. Mayor Koch.
Present.
From Quincy High School, Timothy Nguyen.
Present.
And from North Quincy High School, Luke Moore. Thank you.
Motion to approve the regular minutes for
Motion to
October 27th.
Second.
Motion approved by Mr. Demetrius, seconded by Ms. Healy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for community input regarding the Quincy Public Schools. And after giving his or her name and address, each speaker may make a presentation of no more than 4 minutes to the school committee. An individual may not exchange their time or yield to others. Is anyone currently who would like to speak tonight at the open forum?
Hi, John. I just want to make one quick statement. John Rutherfield, 62 Grumall Road. When you make the schedule for next year for the school committee meetings, when they're on Wednesdays, try to coordinate them so they don't match the same date with a conservation meeting or the same date of a planning board meeting, who also hold their meetings on Wednesdays. So you have two school committee meetings every week, and there's 2 other meetings. There's 4 weeks every month. So you should be able to coordinate it, but I know you set like a whole year in advance, so I'm not sure if you've set your dates for 2019 yet. If you haven't set your dates for 2019 yet, check with conservation and planning, please. I know conservation is always the first week, planning sometimes the second week, sometimes the third week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Anyone else who'd like to speak at open forum this evening? Seeing no one, this portion of the meeting is closed. Moving on to the superintendent's report, Dr. Christopher.
Thank you very much. We will not have Inspire. Thank you very much for that. And just a few things. Professional development yesterday was a great day in the Quincy Public Schools for professional development. Over 500 of our academic classroom teachers, academic program staff, and academic support staff, and administrators, SLT of course, were involved in some very, again, high quality professional development workshop opportunities with goal setting and action steps, as we always do, parent academy planning, strengthening oral language of English learners, strategies for students with disabilities, and digital tools to enhance the classroom instruction. And so many more workshops were held, and with our facilitators, teacher facilitators as well. So I want to thank the SLT for extensive planning on a very, very important day. Grade 8 open houses at both of our high schools. North Quincy will have theirs on Tuesday, October 24th at 6:30, and Quincy High School the day before, Monday, October 23rd at 6:30. And it's a great opportunity for grade 8 parents in the city to come and see such great things at both of our high schools. A reminder of the date for Point Webster 100th anniversary on November 18th at 2 o'clock. Should be a great day, and I know Principal Barrett is working very, very hard in order to have the community there and share such greatness of 100 years at Point. Our new middle school building committee will meet on Tuesday, October 17th, across the hall here at Professional Development Room. Chair Jim Timmons will be setting the agenda and getting the word out to you and of course, the committee as well. Wallison School Harvest Festival, 11 to 3 on Saturday, October 14th. And then wanted to mention briefly, and Mr. Segal today was at Neshoba Valley Technical High School receiving a $138,000 grant for our North Quincy High School engineering program. Accompanying was Jessica Flaherty, as well as Principal Robert Shaw accompanying Keith. So another really great thing for North Quincy High School and for the Center for Tech Education, and working together with having a really great engineering program at both of our high schools. The symposium, our health symposium, will be held on October 18th at the Terrell Room, 3 o'clock to 4:30, and it's a really great time where our principals, our nurses, athletic directors, physical education teachers, middle school health teachers, high school health interventionists, cafeteria managers get together and set wellness goals for their site wellness teams, and then also share where they've been, where they are, and where they want to be. So I want to thank Rita Bailey and Mara and Mark Peel and Keith for their great planning. Partnership events coming up. Splash, which is our learning to swim program, starts this week on the 17th at Atherton Howe in Marymount for our grade 2 students. Mini grants will be November 2nd from 3 to 4:30, and that's held at the Neighborhood Club. And on Friday, this Friday, 3:30 to 4:30, the partnership of TD Bank, Boston Celtics, Q Care, and Lincoln Hancock, as well as our partnership, we'll be taking a look at renovations held at the music room and after-school room at Lincoln Hancock in the foyer area. They've done some really great things there. So it's kind of a celebration to show off the rooms and have TD Bank there, the Celtics representatives there, and Q Care as well. So it's a really nice partnership and really nice renovation for them. And I think that information is in your packet. The program improvement plans, school improvement plans, as you know, we kicked up the dates due to kind of a later posting by the Department of Education, and I know that's in your packet as well. I think Laura for making those changes, and those meetings will be held at those dates that we've stated in the packet. Tomorrow we have professional teacher status. 50 of our teachers will be getting professional teacher status. We're going to have that at the Bradford Library at Quincy High School, 2nd floor. We've never had it there before, so we arranged some things to be nice. I think a really nice setting. Again, that's at 3 o'clock, and it's pretty brief, 3 to 4 tops, so I think if you could be there, that would be terrific. So I want to thank Kevin Mulvey for a lot of the planning and HR people that really take good care of our records and making sure that these 50 teachers have really earned professional teacher status. Pre-kindergarten Parent Academy will be held on Tuesday, October 24th at Central Middle School, 6 to 7. Pre-K parents will have the opportunity to discuss developmental milestones across academic and social and language domains, and learn about pre-kindergarten curriculum and supports for their children at home. And there will be childcare available for parents that evening. I want to thank Ms. Perkins and others for that planning. I wanted to go over briefly the October 1 enrollment and October 1 class size. Not something that I think we can, this is really what we work with within facilities, at a subcommittee to delve into this a bit deeper. But when we look at some of the highlights, when we look at the enrollment and class size, we're up 155 students, and out of that 155, 99 are at both of our high schools. Also, in fact, we have trends. We have a 10-year trend, we have a 12-year trend for the school system, looking from 2006 to 2007, and there's a total increase of 628 students over that 12-year trend as a system. When we look at elementary, we offer you a 10-year trend, and we're up 280 students. And then just to share with you the shifts, this year we're down 50 students at the elementary level. So it does go up and down. We peaked at 2006, 2013 when full-day kindergarten had over 800 children coming in. So that's really the elementary, and the Montclair, the Marshall, Ethelton Howard, Bernazani had decreases, not significant, but decreases in their enrollment, and there weren't really significant increases in any of the elementary schools this year. Our class size, 79% of our classes at the elementary level have 20 children or fewer. So that's something I think you should be very, very proud of. Middle school, again, we offer a 10-year trend, and it's an increase of 242 students over 10 years. This year we have an increase of 76 students at the middle school level, and then particularly you have Atlantic with an increase of 29 students. They brought in a larger grade 6, that's where that increase is for Atlantic. And then Point and Sterling have 29 and 25 student increases, and those are those bumps that we have talked about from Marshall and from Lincoln Hancock getting to the middle school level. And then middle school class size, 89% of our sections, our classes, have 24 students or fewer at the middle school level. At the high school level, again, a 10-year trend, we're down about 132 students. This year we're up 99 students. And looking at the high school, 51 additional students at North and 48 additional at Quincy High School. And when we look at the class size, again, should be very proud of, 84% of our sections at both high schools have 25 students or fewer. And we do look at, as you've talked about in the past, taking a look at the labs, making sure that there are not, there's not, too many students coming in there, so computers are not available in our foreign language in our site. So I think when we look at it, we also have in there some open enrollment statistics, and I think we can get into that in subcommittee and talk about that. But I know that the open enrollment has helped in a lot of ways, a lot of families, for whatever reason, getting out of their neighborhood and going to another elementary or middle, or certainly the high school. So I look forward to talking about that in facilities, or we do that in March as well. Full every site to talk about the facilities and see where we go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaparro. Under old business, there is none. Under new business, we have program improvement plan presentations this evening. The first of which will be the literacy program improvement plan. Janet Baglioni and Yvonne will be presenting.
And as you well know, we are really very, very proud, and this school committee has spoken loudly about literacy in the Quincy Public Schools and increased that staff over time. And as we have increased, I think we really have worked very, very hard to know each and every one of our students. And so Swan and Janet will shortly share the program improvement plan at this time.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Bridget Vaughn. I'm the coordinator of English Language Arts for the Quincy Public Schools. Thank you for having myself and Janet Baglioni tonight to present to you the Literacy Program Improvement Plan. If you just give us a moment, we'll get you set up for our presentation.
Sorry.
So first I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the QPS literacy program is. So tonight, myself, Bridget Vaughn, and Janet Baglioni will present different parts to you. Our program is developed to identify and support students who struggle to acquire foundational literacy skills. Research shows that there's a positive correlation between early literacy intervention and later reading comprehension. So we want to make sure that we identify these students as early on as we can. So students are selected into integrated learning teams, ILTs, based on test assessment results and overall reading performance. And after that happens, literacy teachers provide intervention using SBRRs, scientifically based research reviewed programs to struggling readers in grades kindergarten through grade 4. So what is an ILT, an integrated learning team? The ILT analyzes assessment data and overall performance. Students are then tiered into 3 different levels based on the degree of support that they need. So tier 1 students currently present no risk for low reading achievement, and they don't need any supplemental instruction. The student has classroom instruction in the SBRR, scientifically based, research reviewed programs to continue their reading development at grade level. Tier 2 students currently present some risk based on assessments for low reading achievement and may require some supplemental instruction to be successful in their core grade level programs. And the tier 3 students present a risk for low reading achievement and require more intensive instruction in reading intervention designed to accelerate their student growth. So next you see an intervention menu. So this is part of our program where the literacy providers address the needs of the students in mostly tier 3, sometimes tier 2. They have different programs based on phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So there's several different programs that assess all of those needs. And Janet here can describe any of those in detail for you if you need to. However, we thought it would be really fabulous to see literacy, some of these interventions in action. So that's what we have next.
Okay, so we have talked about our lip pictures. Are we ready?
Yeah.
And how many pairs have we done? 3 pairs? You did both pairs, didn't you? Can everybody do the lip popper? Can somebody find that picture for the lip popper for me?
I didn't find it.
Vincent, can you find the lip popper picture for me? You found the lip popper picture. Can you find the quiet lip popper picture letter for me? Yeah, what letter is that? Yeah, right, good. Look up at my lips first. I'm going to make the 2 sounds. Are you ready? We're not going to yell out the letter names because we're trying to figure out what our mouth looks like first, right? So watch my lips and my mouth. Go ahead and do it. No, not yet. I'm going to give you 2. And then I'm going to make the noisy one, right? Now look at a friend and make those 2 sounds. Can you have it? Do they pop open?
No.
Do they stay together?
Yeah.
Are you using your lips at all?
No.
Are you using your tongue at all?
No.
And what are we doing then? We have our teeth together. What's happening?
Air is coming out.
Thank you. Air is coming out. Is it popping out like that?
No.
Or is it coming out like in the line? Like
This is another computer-based program called Lexia.
Different?
It's
Yeah.
called-
And it's a superhero.
It's a superhero. What do you mean it's a superhero?
Because everyone has a
every word has a vowel, so a superhero is a vowel. Oh, what is the name of that superhero? Ready? Aaliyah, this way. Ready? B-at, bat. So I'm touching each sound and then I'm sweeping it together. Ready? B-at, bat. I want to make bat say rat. Listen. B-at, at. What needs to be changed? The beginning, the middle, or the end, Isabella?
The beginning.
The beginning. So what do I need to change? What do I need to put at the beginning? R. Good girl. Okay. What do I need to change?
R on the beginning.
The beginning. We need to change the H to the R. Okay, can everyone do that on their boards? Good job, Jael. Okay. All right, so we have hat.
Thank you. The next part of our presentation is going to be to review our goals from last year, and I'm going to hand it over to Janet to do that. So last year in literacy, our goal, I think, has been the same for our first goal, is to reduce the number of Tier 3 students in K to 3. And that's evidenced by the DIBELS report, because that measures their fluency and early literacy skills. And our goal is to do it in each grade level, K to 3. Overall, we did reduce that by more than 3%. But it does, I think you have the graphs inside your school improvement plan. It requires a little explanation. As you can see, kindergarten actually didn't go down by 3% in Tier 3. DIBELS next, and it is a concern if you look through our reflections of that goal. Kindergarten's measure is different for every time period. So in the spring, we measure letter fluency, letter naming fluency, and in the winter and fall, we measure nonsense word fluency. So it's two very different things. One names letters, one puts sounds together. So from the beginning to the end, they actually didn't go down. But if you look at the winter to the spring, it did go down, and those two measures are the same. So kindergarten, believe it or not, has the most subtests that we test. There's 4 overall for the year. And we look across all 4 subtests when we're looking. We don't just look at what DIBELS tells us is Tier 3, because a kid could be Tier 3 in one of the 4 subtests, and a Tier 1 in another one, and a Tier 2 in another one. So we definitely take a holistic approach when we look at kindergarten. They're a little bit trickier. So the subtest does change. That's why in that particular grade, it doesn't look like they went down from the fall to the spring, but if you look at from winter to spring, it did. So that's great. And that measures the same subtest. First and second grade, basically they measure the same subtest throughout the year, and those 2 grades go down, and we do usually make headway with that fluency piece for them. Third grade, again, as you know, is where we kind of run into this learning to read and reading to learn. And that their only measure is oral reading fluency, and just because they don't read fast doesn't necessarily mean that they need a reading intervention. So that is another reason why we have brought math in. So we know they need comprehension. So just because they don't read fast doesn't mean they're not comprehending. So DIBELS really, we take that temperature and we check it out, and then we talk to the teachers, and now we have another great assessment. I guess we should thank you for that. Math, and I know that was, it's big for us, it's big for the teachers, and it's really big for us to help measure comprehension. It gives us something to compare those 2 things with. So third grade is another one that kind of teeters, so we have to make sure. And we started MAP 2 years ago, so now we have, it's a learning process, but we're learning how to use it, we're learning how to use the reports to better support our literacy students. So we will use that going forward, and we don't get this kind of report, but you will see, because our next goal was for MAP. Does anybody have questions about that? I know DIBELS is a little confusing, so if anybody has a question about those graphs or what they mean, I'm happy to answer them now, or can wait till the end. So, okay.
It is confusing unless you do it every day. So our second goal was to use math to measure comprehension, and it was to reduce what's called a RIT score, and it stands for somebody's name, Ross, integral unit. I use it as ready for instruction today. That's how I kind of remember what that means. So it breaks it down, yeah, for us to see what the students need to learn in comprehension. It breaks it down, and I think you have graphs on it. It's in the appendix, I believe. In Appendix A, it gives you all the numbers and how it's broken down, foundational skills, literary, nonfiction. So that's all there. So we're using that 2nd through 5th grade now. Not this year. Last year it was just 2nd and 3rd. But we did reduce by 10 points in the RIT. And that's not just us, that's also the classroom teachers. You know, we do pick up on comprehension as well as our literacy skills. So we made gains with that, and as we go forward with that, we'll certainly learn to use that a little more effectively as we learn more about it. And our last goal for last year was to kind of get on the same page with everybody in literacy and in our ILT process. And so we met with our EL teachers, we met with our SPED teachers, and we worked with the EL special needs team to produce another document to just kind of help us keep track of students because they have so many services. And if they're in EL, they may not see us, but then the EL teacher has concerns when it comes to literacy. So we're piloting, or we started to pilot last year in grade 3 a document, which is what we came up with, part of our third goal, which was to kind of refine that ILT process a little bit more and to keep a little bit closer tabs on some kids that maybe don't see us, but that eventually will, depending on how that goes. And I think you have that in your appendix at the end, in Appendix B. So we'll be piloting that document. We used it a little bit last year. We got a final draft this year. So I still think that's a work in process. And mini ILTs kind of came out of that. We do ILTs 3 times a year, and we talk about whole class. So we thought if there were teachers that had concerns and maybe literacy wasn't picking up a student, maybe we could give teachers suggestions and then check back in with them in 6 weeks. So have like little mini ILTs and see if that student needs any more tweaking, if the teacher needs anything else, or do we go ahead and pick that student up. And now Bridget will talk about our new goals coming up for this year, and Katie.
Thanks, Janet. I'm so impressed with all the work that you do since we started working together. So for our new goals, some of them are our continuation from last year. Our first goal for the 2017-18 school year is to, again, decrease the students by 3% that are in Tier 3, with a focus on K1 and 2, as Janet mentioned, and indicated by the assessment Dibbles next. Our second goal for this year is implementation of guided reading and close reading strategies and an increase of 10 points again on the RIT scale measured by the MAP test. And I can talk to you a bit about the professional development that goes along with that. The guided reading and close reading. Today I actually was with Dr. Nancy Boyles, with teachers at Bernazani and other teachers from Parker and Wollaston Elementary. We had a large group of about, there were 13 in the morning, 17 in the afternoon. Nancy did 4 different model lessons with small group instruction of students while the teachers observed, took notes, and then they're able to go back and teach those kinds of strategies with their own students, and then we come back in December and then again in March with the same groups. I'll be with her again tomorrow at Atherton Howe, with Marymount and Beechwood Knoll, and we continue these cohorts all throughout the year, which is really fabulous. We're in year 2 of this close reading initiative. We worked with whole group. You'll hear about that with the younger grades. It's starting up this year, and we're moving into small group instruction, again, to target so that the teachers can target individual students, check in with them, progress monitor on a regular basis more often. Our third goal for the 2017-18 year is to work with the EL and special needs team with the literacy providers in refining that ICAP document that Janet mentioned, and to get more in-depth training with our MAP testing. So regarding professional development in that area, Tim Neville from MAP is going to be coming out and doing advanced training with the literacy team, and more effective use of the MAP reports. So he's going to actually help develop more effective use of mini ILTs that Janet mentioned, so that we can check it in with students more often. We also have professional development, we just had it with landmark writing and close reading and depth of knowledge, all supporting the hopeful increase of 10 points on the MAP test. Let's see. Okay, so I mentioned some of these professional development opportunities that support all of the goals. In addition to that, we have literacy team meetings. Our first one is October 17th, where myself, Janet, and the whole literacy team, which is in your in the program improvement plan, the literacy team will meet and we will go over how the groups, based on the DIVL scores and the MAP testing, how the students are tiered, and what groups are being created by all the literacy providers. And there's our team of all of the different staff members throughout the district, that are literacy teachers, interventionists, etc. And that concludes our program improvement presentation. We'd like to thank everyone, and thank you for your continued support. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Any comments or questions? Mrs. Lebo?
I just want to thank you. I had like 5 questions when I came here, and Janet, you answered all of them in your presentation. The subtext thing was confusing me, as was the difference in the 3rd grade and why you're changing that and not including it in your goal. It's crystal clear to me now. I did want to say that the data still looks very good. It really does look very good, so congratulations to all the literacy team and the teachers.
Mrs. Isola?
Thank you so much, and my questions were answered too, the things that I was thinking about, so I appreciate that. One of the things that I'm always struck by with the literacy program is the amount of communication between your team, between the regular classroom teachers and the other teams that are in the building. I think that that is just the hallmark of this program. And also the fluidity that the children can travel through the tiers. It just sets our kids up for success. And to know that you're there supporting them should they need that little bit of help, maybe in the middle of the year or whatever, I just think is just wonderful. And thank you for including the literacy team page. This makes me so happy because we finally got back to where we wanted to be. And I'm just feel so good about this, and I think it really helps QPS across the board when we get our little ones the assistance that they need. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Isola. Anybody else?
Yeah, really nice presentation. I feel like it was just yesterday that I was sitting in there and learning how to spell that. Not too long ago. I just do have one question that I may have missed in the presentation. What is the RIT scale? What does it go? Like I see you want to increase from 10 points. What is it out of?
It isn't out of anything. So it depends.
Okay.
Yeah. So a student will get a score based on their comprehension level, and the score is different across the different areas. So it also depends on what grade you're in. So it doesn't have a bottom and a top. It does have a norm for each grade level. All right, I can't tell you what they all are off the top of my head. It's kind of new, but just pretend 2nd grade has a norm at this time of year of 200.
200, and what did that measure?
It's measuring their comprehension in the different areas. So 2nd grade would take areas of foundational skills, comprehension in literature, comprehension in nonfiction, and vocabulary and use. So there's a norm for each grade level, and then we look at that norm and see if the students are below the norm or above the norm or at the norm. So I can't give you an exact number for each one. It's not out of like 1,000, okay? That's the best I can explain it right now. It's still kind of new to me, but. Oh, I'm sorry. No, good, okay.
Janet, initially, was the literacy program designed to help take some of the, not load off of, but try to figure out the kids who have special needs and try to intervene earlier with those children? How is that?
I don't know if it's take the load off, right? I don't know. What we do try to do is hopefully either identify students earlier, which is also good for them, or give them the boost they need so that when it comes to second grade, when it's harder to close that gap, try to get them before they're there. In second grade and the gap is wider. Most data shows that the gap gets wider the older they get, the less help they get. So we do try to close that gap pretty quickly with the early literacy skills right in kindergarten. I mean, that video you saw of me in kindergarten today is an inclusion model right now. It's hard to identify them even for our literacy groups at the beginning of the year, but just being in there and supporting the teachers and, using the subtests and dibbles and seeing where they all are. We're just trying to close the gap fast and or maybe identify sooner. I think that our data has showed that we have identified students sooner that do have learning disabilities, but I also think that we've closed the gap on a lot of them.
So have you found through the resource room feedback that referrals are down in the early grades?
I don't have that. I mean, I've worked in a couple of different schools and I think it's year to year. I mean, I think that every year a grade or class is different. It's hard to know if they're down or up. I do know that what we do before they get to the resource room supports what they're going to be doing there. Just in my conversations with special education teachers, they have some of the skills going in, or I should say skills strategies going in, because we teach very similar programs to what they teach, and we use very similar strategies. So they have some of the strategies going in, they just need a little bit, they need more.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you very much for your presentation.
I do.
Thank you.
Thanks, sorry, Chair. Just to say thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it, the continued work, and a new challenge, Bridget, as you come down to the literacy. So thank you very, very much for that. And to pick up at what Ms. Isola said about the communication, it is so important that everyone pretty much is on the same instructional wavelength and what our kids really need on a consistent basis. That's why you go from the ILTs to the mini ILTs, to make sure we remind each other of where our kids are, that targeted assistance piece that is so critical, K to 3, K to 4, to grab a hold of these kids. So, working with the special ed, the general ed, the EL, the literacy staff, the principal, also as well, the administrative piece, I think is critical, for that progress monitoring piece that I think you do so well. So I want to thank you and all the literacy people, and thank the school committee for being so supportive over so many years. When it's budget time, literacy is always untouched, built in and untouched, and we know why, because it's such a great program. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Our second program improvement plan presentation will be by Carrie Conley and Julie Graham, and they'll be speaking tonight of early childhood.
In the meantime, Carrie, is there anything you'd like to mention? Poor Carrie. It was just easy.
Sorry for the delay. Again, I'm Julie Graham. I'm the team administrator for special education and early childhood curriculum, and I will be presenting tonight with Carrie Conley, the early childhood program improvement plan. So our mission for the early childhood program for Quincy Public Schools is to provide an enriching program for young children identified with special needs, as well as their typically developing peers. Our program uses developmentally appropriate practices that are aligned with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, as well as the academic standards presented by the 2011 Massachusetts Curriculum Frameworks for ELA, math, and social emotional learning. In addition, our curriculum meets the social, emotional, cognitive, and developmental needs of all of our young children. Our schools, families, and community work together to provide a foundation for lifelong learning. Ultimately, it's the work of our early childhood programs that lay the foundation for what's to come for Quincy Public Schools. Our program description. In Quincy Public Schools, we have 2 pre-kindergarten inclusive learning environments. At the Snug Harbor Community School, we have 6 integrated classrooms with 2 sessions each session having 15 children. At the Emilio Della Chiesa Early Childhood Center, we have 5 integrated pre-K classrooms, again with 2 sessions each of 15 children. In addition, we have 8 classrooms that are substantially separate for children with high special needs levels. These classrooms typically have 8 to 10 children for a total of 70. Each of our pre-K classrooms support children for ages 3 through 5 years old. Quincy Public Schools also offers free full-day kindergarten at each of our 11 elementary schools, and we want to absolutely thank you for continuing to support the full-day kindergarten program. As of October 1st, we have 755 kindergarten children in Quincy Public Schools. Our kindergarten programs are also inclusive and provide for a diverse range of services based on the individual needs of our children. In all of our pre-K and kindergarten classrooms, we have 1 classroom teacher and a full-time paraprofessional. And again, we want to continue to thank you for supporting those classroom positions and the daily impact that you have on our youngest learners. Our curriculum and our instruction. Both in our pre-kindergarten and our kindergarten programs, all of our classroom teachers have been trained in the Italian Lively Letters program, which you saw in the literacy piece. It's that phonemic program that we're all using. All of our kindergarten and pre-K teachers have also been trained in handwriting without tears. At the pre-K level, we use that as our core curriculum, readiness and writing, language and literacy, math and numerals. In the kindergarten, handwriting without tears is primarily used as their writing program. Pre-kindergarten classrooms also use Literacy Express, Foundations in Math, Calm Classroom, Tools of the Mind, and PBIS, where our kindergarten classrooms use Journeys, Go Math, Foundations in Math, and also PBIS. To measure our students' achievement, prior to entering the pre-kindergarten program, children are screened either using an early screening inventory or the Brigant's early childhood screening. Obviously, with our pre-K learners, it's challenging to get accurate assessments as they're in our program, so most of our assessments are done informally throughout the school year. Our kindergarten programs also use the early screening inventory prior to entering kindergarten, but they, throughout the school year, use the Dibbles Next and as well as the DRA. And in both our kindergarten and pre-K programs, children are continuously assessed and interventions are put into place as students are identified as needing additional supports.
Good evening, it's nice to see everybody. Once again, I'm Carrie Conley, the team administrator at the Della Chiesa, and it's my pleasure to reflect on the goals from last year that I'm happy to report that the early childhood team met. Last year, the kindergarten team successfully implemented the electronic reports card, standards-based card, on Aspen, and the pre-kindergarten team worked on developmental checklists that we implemented. The team worked, we talked a lot about Aspen, but the team still feels as if it's really important to have that personal connection, so the preschool team, still presents the card at the first report card conference, which has been very successful. The kindergarten and pre-kindergarten teams work to align the handwriting without TIA's curriculum with the current practices. The program has been a great resource, many hands-on lessons and multi-sensory, so it's been really a great asset in addition to the program. The pre-kindergarten team last year was trained in the pre-LARS, so it's an oral language assessment, so we tested all 4-year-olds that were leaving preschool and entering kindergarten the following year just to get a fluency rating. So it's all students identified on the parent language survey as students that speak other languages than English in the home. And we will continue that this year as well. In fact, currently all our pre-kindergartens have been tested for the scores for this fall. So I'm happy to report on the goals from this year. So I'd like to just talk now about the goals for this year. So during the school year, this 2017-2018, the pre-kindergarten team will participate in training in the implementation of PBIS in the current classrooms. Jessica Cora, a couple weeks ago, did a wonderful presentation. She's going to share a little bit more information. And then actually, you'll have the opportunity to see current classroom being implemented in the classes, which is great. But they are based on the social and emotional learning standards and approach to play and learning that was adopted in the spring of 2015. So these math standards are so important. They're based on 5 areas. The social emotional learning, the self-awareness piece. We want the children to have the ability to express emotions. Self-management, we want them to have that impulse control and stress management. Social awareness, how important it is for them to learn how to respect others. Relationship skills, how to manage conflicts, which we know is a lifelong skill and we want to start very young. Responsive decision making, we want them to be able to reflect on their decisions and how better ways to maybe make a different decision the next time. So we work on this daily in the classrooms. The approach to play and learning standard, it's so important in school readiness. This approach to learning and play, it's a powerful predictor for the future school success. So we want to provide them with the tools to cooperate, problem solve, be curious learners. So all these strategies and the current classroom strategies and other things, the tools of the mind and all the curriculum, is just an area of focus that's so important that we really want to address in the classrooms. So Jess is going to now come up and talk about the current classroom, and then we'll have the chance to show you some wonderful videos of it being implemented.
Hi, I'm Jessica Sikora. I'm a school psychologist for the preschool program at Snug Harbor. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Calm Classroom. As you can see, it's a program based on mindfulness, and it's really our hope that with its use, that our kids are going to be taking a moment to kind of pause before they react. We want that to become a habit as they continue throughout school. The ultimate goal of it is helping our kids learn to respond to a situation rather than react to a situation. So this program aligns with many of the social emotional standards that were just talked about, and it was piloted last year in 2 of the integrated classrooms at Snug Harbor. And then this year for our first professional development day, I led a training for all teachers at the integrated preschool level that focused on the new standards, PBIS, and then also Calm Classroom. The goal now is that the Calm Classroom programming is going to be implemented program-wide through all the integrated classrooms. You'll see it in a minute in a really great little video. But what it is, it's a really flexible program that's just a series of scripts, 1 to 2 minutes each in length that can be done at scheduled times throughout the school day. 2 times, say, for the half-day program, and there is the full-day preschool classroom, 1 in each building. For the kids who are getting ready to go to kindergarten, and with those, if they're scheduling them throughout the day, we hope that they do 3. But it can also be done kind of when the classroom teacher feels like they need it. So if the kids need to move and get those wiggles out, they can just take a minute and do one of these. If they need the class to kind of come together to focus, that's a time they can do one of these, or after a classroom disruption. They're 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. There are lots of those to kind of bring the class back together as another opportunity for the teachers to be able to use these. What I really like about the program is that it is so flexible and that the teachers can make accommodations within it because our preschool kiddos have so many developmental levels within each classroom that the teacher can really kind of tailor it specifically to, say, the morning class or the afternoon class, or if one student has something going on that day. A lot of the times, the classroom things are done with your eyes closed. That's something that not all children, not all people are comfortable with. So, as one example, they can pick an object in the room to look at instead of closing their eyes. So, instead of me talking about it, I'm gonna do this.
To do calm classroom. I'm going to try and listen to the sound of the bell until it stops ringing. Are you ready? Keep your eyes closed until that bell stops. Slowly breathe in. Feel your bellies. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was fabulous. I think we're feeling nice and calm now.
We are going to practice sitting peacefully. Sitting peacefully means our whole body is quiet and not moving. Close your eyes. Your eyes are quiet and peaceful. Your head is quiet and peaceful. Your shoulders are quiet and peaceful. Do you feel peaceful? Yeah. Awesome. Good. So let's get ready for our story and our message of the day by focusing our attention. Can I see everyone sitting up tall? We are going to listen to the sound of the bell. The bell will sound loud at first, and then it will get quieter and quieter. Let's listen to the bell until it stops ringing. Now, let's close our eyes and listen to the bell until it stops ringing. Close your eyes.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this.
Thank you, Jess. I just have to comment though, that was last week. It's the first few days of school, and to watch the little ones sit and pay attention and focus was just amazing. And I have to be mindful if I hear the bell not to interrupt the class. Sorry, Miss Laurie. So I'll pay more attention to the bell. So thank you on that. So our next goal for this year is the kindergarten and pre-kindergarten teachers will utilize strategy and materials from the Foundations of Math course. So many of the children, many of the staff have already been trained, but we currently have the Foundations of Math session going on right now. We're training, the group met today. And I know Dr. Christopher, I mentioned last Tuesday, the wonderful PD that we had, but yesterday, we had all their preschool and kindergarten teachers meet at the Della Chiesa. We broke into groups of 20 to 22, and we multi-age, so it was pre-kindergarten CARES teachers as well as pre-kindergarten classroom teachers and the kindergarten teachers. So we had a nice little vertical team. Each teacher brought their best practice to share a center. So they left there with approximately 20 to 25 new activities. Then there was other opportunity to share. It was just amazing to watch how enthusiastic everybody was, and that everybody left with things that they could start to implement today. So it's really a great sharing. So we will continue with additional math focus this year. So we're very happy with that. Oh, I didn't, sorry.
Under control.
Oh, working against each other.
How many open spaces do we have on our board? 5. Good, let's count them. Can we point and count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job. And does everyone have 5 counters?
Yeah.
How many dots do you see?
3. So I take away one of my 4 spots.
You're so smart, Lucky.
Yeah.
So let's do 3 dots.
3.
Good. And how many open spaces?
2.
2. Good job. Okay, clear your board. Oh, let's try it a different way. What number? Ready? I would like to see 4. What do we have to do?
Ready to slide?
What do we have to do, Jeffrey? Add 1 more. That was fabulous, Math Talk. Can you add 1 more so we can have...
Nice, Quincy. Color it in.
Jeffrey, you knew we had 3, and what did we have to do? What did we have to do, Jeffrey? We had to add 1 more. Very good.
All right, you ready? Grab a crayon.
Right? Here we go.
5, 5. What number?
This is how many I want.
3.
How many?
Say, good, color it in, please.
Dot, J. Put 1 on this.
Ooh, is there more than 1 3?
Both hands so I can
Look on
see.
the paper, 5.
Good
How many
job.
threes?
Now watch this one. I don't want to see 1. This is how many I want to see.
Good job.
Remember, red goes to blue, blue goes to...
Hi, I'm Gloria Cahill. I teach the integrated preschool at ECC. So what I'd first like to point out about the video clip is that what you saw is 3 different classrooms in our city. So in our city, the preschool is housed in Snug Harbor and ECC. But the exciting part is that we have this new curriculum through Handwriting Without Tears. It's set for school numbers and math, and the Math Foundation training that we've all been trained in, which is phenomenal. So in those 3 different classrooms, which I'll point out, in my classroom, it was their 7th day of school. We were all kind of doing the same thing because there's a set scope and sequence to what we do, which is fabulous. If there were movement within the city and the kids moved to different programs, they would pick up right where they left off, which is really wonderful. The program itself is aligned to the Mass frameworks, so we're always following and keeping on that scope and sequence. But the great part of the Math Foundations that we're all being trained on is it allows us the ability to really differentiate in that instruction. So in that 5-frame activity that we were all kind of doing in our video, we can meet the needs of all of our learners, even within the group. So our groups can be fluid, they can be homogeneous, it just really works within that. So Math Foundation has taught us the power of the 5-frame. And it quickly, because it helps them to organize their brain, allows them to really start to subitize those numbers, see those numbers quickly. We're getting far less just one-to-one counting. I have kids that are already, like if I said 3, they have 3, and now I want 1, they're sweeping 2 of them away. They're not clearing it and starting it back. So it's just so powerful. And I was really excited when I saw it because I obviously don't get to see Snug. We all meet together and we work really hard to plan the curriculum. But it was nice to see that on that same day, we're all kind of doing a variation of the same thing. So it's exciting, and I thank you.
I just want to now just talk to you about the very last goal, goal number 3. So we're very excited for this goal. The pre-kindergarten team will provide opportunities to further develop the collaboration between home and school. So we're partnering with Thomas Crane Library, and we're going to be having the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program. So there's 3 days that are set in January that the pre-kindergarten staff will be meeting with the families and the children. They'll be invited to the Thomas Crane Library. So it's a wonderful resource. And then in the spring, we will be having the library, Thomas Crane Library representatives come to each site to get the children set up with their cards and to share some of the summer program activities for the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. So we're really thrilled to be partnered with Thomas Crane Library. And we're going to be implementing some other things. We have that wonderful Parent Academy that's coming up, the first time this initiative. We're so happy to be collaborating with Social Hospital on car seat safety, some help, the development milestones that some of the staff will be presenting as well. So it's just a great opportunity for our families, and we're looking forward to that collaboration and just having some other ways to enhance that with our parents. And that at this time concludes the Early Childhood Improvement Plan, if you have any questions.
Anybody on the committee have any comments or questions? Mrs. Isola?
I was just curious in watching the math, is there a correlation between the children actually moving physically while they're getting the concept? Does that help them learn more?
Absolutely. I mean, research on top of research proves that the more kids can learn and move while they're learning, that whole kinesthetic action, it's while we use the Italian letters of phonemic awareness, like it's all about kids and moving and learning together. And the more of their, their brain and their movement and their thinking, the more we can link it together. Like we create letters with our bodies so that kids have that whole connection between moving their bodies and their cognitive thinking.
And also, thank you for the presentation on the Calm Classroom. I think I'd like to take that to work.
Send you a book.
Yeah, no, it's actually something I think that, we don't think about, and mindfulness is so important. And, as adults, we get caught up in the everyday hubbub of our environment. I think to learn it young is really wonderful. Thank you.
And just to add to the movement, as you see the centers as they're moving around, we're hoping that, the Calm class is going to help with that, like whole self-discipline, being able to regulate their own bodies and space.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Lebo?
Yeah, I just have a comment also. This is a great presentation. Thank you so much. I love the Calm Classroom. I'm going to give you a little first-hand experience I had with it. I have a grandchild who's in one of the integrated preschools, and he was having a challenge with one of his cousins one day. And fortunately, your communication home is great, because on the refrigerator there was a little graphic of what you could do around the Calm Classroom. And I just said to him, get Calm. He didn't want to do it, but he didn't know how he really didn't want, he did not want to let go of his issue, but he didn't know how to not do it once he was into that mode. So it's really incredible. In the fact that it's gone home to the parents and the grandparents, so that we can use it when we need to. So kudos to all of you, it's a wonderful program.
Anything else? Are we back on the schedule where we're Monday, Thursday, Friday at both theaters? Did we have to change schedule a couple of years ago?
Can we do that?
At each of our sites, we do still continue to have one full-day program. So both at Snug Harbor and at ECC, there is one classroom that is designated as the full-day classroom. That classroom meets Monday, Thursday, and Wednesday, Friday. The rest of our classrooms are continuing to be the Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after the programs.
Thank you.
Just ran out of batteries, so I'm just going to talk a little louder. First of all, great presentation. I was part of the first full day kindergarten class back in 2006. 11 years ago now, and I see it's still going strong. A couple of comments I have. I like this whole the push. Not just at this level, but citywide towards the curriculum mapping and towards, standardizing it for all the schools so that they're all following the same, using the same materials and following the same standards. I like that. I think that push is very important. Instead of having, each school and going and having a completely different program, to having it all be the same is really nice. Same with the Calm Classroom too. I might bring that up to the high schools and see if we can have that can work a little better. And just one final note, just not about. I think everyone so far for their presentations have been using a lot of videos in the presentation, which I think is important for us to see. That instead of just reading and saying this program works and this is what's actually happening, to actually see it in action and see these programs that we're talking about is very important. So excellent presentation. Thank you.
We believe strongly in what we do, so it's nice for us to be able to share with you what we get to do every single day. And, you know, it's such an honor and privilege to walk into these buildings and see these little people in action, and to be able to share it with you is, I mean, you help support us, so we appreciate that part of it as well.
Thank you again. Appreciate it.
I want to thank you too, as well, and you know, we talk about passion, we talk about having all-stars that are here with Jess and Lori, and this is, I mean, just between us, but that young lady, Lori, is my favorite teacher of all. I say that, my wife is watching saying that about me, but Lori started quite a few years ago at the Snug Harbor School, and to see the passion that you still have is just a wonderful, wonderful thing. So appreciative of everything that you do. So we have a lot of all-stars, a lot of wonderful, wonderful teachers that have that passion. The professional development I think you do is extraordinary. The way you collaborate, now we got the pre-K, we got the K going. So there's always this same communication we talked about in the collaboration of teachers, knowing that without their knowledge and their experience and their decision-making, you know, we can make all the goals we want, but if we don't involve them in making sure that they have a real significant interest and investment, it's just not going to work. And I think whether it's pre-K or grade 11, 12, I think our teachers are really participating in all of our goal setting and our action plans, and very appreciative of their work, appreciative of your work. There's a lot going on at these two pre-kindergarten centers, so I want to thank you very, very much. I also want to thank Public Buildings for the 2 new classrooms at Emilio Del Chiesa that are really beautiful and very much appreciated. So I want to thank you both for your leadership. Thank you.
I thought I was your favorite.
I didn't say anything.
I'm not gonna say it. On a new business, the Mass Conference delegate, Mrs. Hublet.
I'd like to make a motion that I attend the Massachusetts Association of School Committee Conference as a representative of the Quincy School Committee for purposes of voting as a delegate in November.
Motion made by Mrs. Hublet, seconded by Mrs. Isola. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Refer to the policy subcommittee, the energy efficient vehicle policy. It's been put forth by the city of Quincy. Moving on to additional business, there is none. Communications, upcoming school committee meetings at the Coddington Building at 6:30, except where noted. October 25th at the Point Webster Middle School. On November 15th at the Coddington Building, executive session at 6 o'clock. And on December 6th at the Central Middle School at 6 o'clock. Then there are upcoming subcommittee meetings at the Coddington Building. Budget and Finance to meet on Thursday, October 19th at 5. Facilities and Security to meet Thursday, October 19th at 5:30. And the Policy Subcommittee meeting is on Thursday, October 19th at 6 o'clock. Athletic Subcommittee meeting will be meeting on Monday, November 13th at 5 o'clock. Teaching and Learning, a series of meetings Monday, November 13th at 5:30. Tuesday, November 14th, I believe at 5:30. Monday, November 20th at 5:30, and Tuesday, November 21st, also at 5:30. Reports of subcommittees, there are none. Sorry, Mrs. Lebo.
Can I just add something to the communications?
Yes.
On September 5th, the Joint Committee of Education at the State House had a hearing that included a bill, House Bill 235, which was an act to mandate recess for elementary school children. I'd like to give all of you a copy of this, but it's very brief. I'd like a chance to read this to you so you can have an understanding of it.
Thank you.
All children in grades kindergarten through 5 attending public schools shall receive 100 minutes of supervised, safe, and unstructured free play recess each week, so that there are at least 20 consecutive minutes of free play recess per day. As used herein, the term free play means an unstructured environment, but which is supervised by appropriate school personnel or staff. Regulations promulgated by the department may not exclude recess from structured learning time requirements for elementary children and may not increase the total number of hours required in the school year to meet the provisions of this bill. So I have provided written testimony in support of this. There's also a Senate bill pending, Senate Bill 308, but I think that there's some discussion in our community around recess, and I think it's really important that people understand we have been unable to count that time towards teaching and learning in our demands from the mandates from the Department of Education. And this bill would give us relief to that.
Thank you, Ms. Lou. That's a big change in the policy at the state level, so and to welcome it. I think it has legs up. I know Marymount is meeting tomorrow talking about it, so. Dr. Christopher, you want to comment? Yes. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lebo. Reports subcommittees, there are none. Executive session, none. We have a motion to adjourn.
So, thank you all very much. Thank you.